We've all been there before. You've been super worried that you're gonna get called out on a stain on your shirt that you got while you were fighting a raccoon. Okay, maybe not all of us have fought raccoons before, but there is one thing that I know that we can both relate with. Is that feeling where you think the whole world is staring and watching that little insecurity of yours. Others would spend hours and hours thinking about and worrying about what group A thinks or what person B said about them. And in a bid to make person A and B happy, they begin to change foundational parts of themselves and eventually losing touch of who they really are. Now, if you happen to have this problem where you find yourself worrying for hours and hours on end on what complete strangers think about you, you're in luck. Because in this video, I'll be sharing with you 7 mindset shifts that help me to not give a shirt what people think about me. Now let's get into the video. Now I want you to imagine a burning building, and in that building, your little sister is inside. Okay, I mean, this will never happen, hopefully, but for the sake of this exercise, just bear with me for a while. At this point in time, you're the only person who can actually save your sister without her actually getting life-altering burns because you actually found an opening. Now, we can both agree that in that moment, it doesn't matter if you're putting on the Barney and Friend suit, if you're putting on the toga, or if you're just in boxers, you would rush in and save your sister, regardless of what you're wearing, who is around, or who is watching. Now, one of the major reasons why we tend to think about the little crap, like worrying about what somebody thinks about you, is because we actually do not have big crap to worry about. But then, this begs the question, how do we find our burning buildings in a time of relative peace? Now, a way that we can actually find our burning buildings is by actually focusing on others. I'm sure you're probably like, Bernard, isn't this a video about not caring what other people think about you? How does focusing on others fit into that equation? Now, going back to the burning building example, the reason why you'll be able to jump into that building, regardless of what you're wearing or what anyone thinks, is because you are completely focused on one person, which is your little sister. Now, finding your burning building is you finding something that transcends yourself or your ego. Now, if one of the benefits of you speaking in public would actually lead to someone having a radical change in their lives or help them make a process easier, who cares if your shirt is stained? Who cares if you stutter a bit when you're excited? Who cares if your nose is a bit bent on the side? If you really focus on that one person that needs your help, the little crap of what other people think about you will honestly not matter at all. Now, another reason why you are constantly under pressure and worry about what people think about you is most likely because you are surrounded by the wrong people. Take a look at these guys, for example. Yo, Bernard, what's up? Tyler, I'm just practicing the guitar. I'm kind of like mastering like my finger style placement and stuff like that. Oh, cool, that's nice. Yeah, basically what I'm doing actually. Later, got any weed? Oh, that's a bit tricky because I don't really smoke. Oh, yeah. Okay. You got vodka by any chance? Vodka. Yeah. Funny thing is, I also don't drink too. Yeah. Oh, okay. You got condoms? You know what? Now you say it, I currently don't have one lying around in the moment. I see. Yeah. You know you're boring, right? I actually didn't know you felt that way, Tyler. You know what? I think I'm gonna go hang out with Scott this night. Yeah. Good night.
Am I really boring? Maybe I should start smoking weed and get some STDs. Then I'll be cool.
Now, when you find yourself questioning who you are, when you are around a certain group of people, odds are you're probably with the wrong group of people. Now, this mindset shift was a bit recent for me because quite recently I went to visit a museum, and in this museum was one that featured a city in the 1900s. While I was looking at the 20th century apartments, I noticed pictures of different people who are most likely dead at this point, and it got me thinking, 150 years from now, other people from a completely different generation would be looking at me the same way I was looking at those people. And the fact of life really became apparent to me. Everything is going to crap. Odds are 100 years from now, you are probably going to be manure for an oak tree. I mean, it could be any tree, but I like oak trees because they're quite big. And I mean, the bigger the better. And the truth is, a lot of things that you're worried about would not matter in 2 years. Hey, they would not matter in 3 months. But we find ourselves still worrying about them. Now, to add more value to this video, during my research for this video, I discovered a book called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. And it lists out 5 regrets that people in their deathbeds had right before they passed on. And I'm just going to quickly list them. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. I wish I had let myself be happier. Wow, okay, that's a lot deeper than I expected, but you get the point. Okay, this is not a sermon about Luke 6 verse 37, where Jesus Christ actually said the exact same words. This is actually a personal observation. Now, I don't know if you've noticed here, but people who tend to make fun of other people or hypercritical about others are usually the ones that find it really difficult to actually try something new or go out of their comfort zone, because unconsciously, the same lens that they use to judge others is actually the same lens that they inevitably use to judge themselves. Now, if you want to really get over your problem of worrying about what other people think about you, I think you need to first start with yourself. Do you needlessly judge people? Are you also hyper-focused on what other people do? And yes, pun intended, you listen and you don't judge. Now, accepting the fact that people will talk. It is inevitable. It is human nature to talk. We have been sharing ideas for a really, really long time. People will always have different opinions about you and they will talk about it. If you sneeze, people will talk about it. If you fart, people will talk about it. If you use the toilet, people will also see a reason to talk about that too. The only way to not have people say things about you is if you're an NPC. And even NPCs still get talked about. And if you ask me, the bigger thing that you should worry about is if people do not actually talk about you. Because if people do not talk about you, odds are you are doing nothing that is actually worth talking about. Now, there's a really interesting concept that I stumbled upon while reading the book, The Courage to be Disliked. And this concept is called separation of tasks. Now, one of the statements that really stuck to me was that most interpersonal relationship problems occur when we do not separate tasks. Now, what do I mean by separation of tasks? Now, what somebody else thinks about your behavior or your actions in the moment is not your task. That's their business. Your business is to do your best with your current circumstance and what you currently have, and it's their business to think about however they perceive your actions or behavior while you're doing your best. The anxiety you feel because she did not respond to your text or he did not respond to your text can actually be done away with if you just accept the fact that you are not living to satisfy the expectation of others, and so also other people are not living to satisfy your expectations of them. Do your best and leave the rest. Now, another reason why people most times are hyper fixated or worried about what a group of people think about them is because they have given this group of people power over them. Okay, now I'm sure you're probably saying, oh, I can never be a slave. Nobody has power over me. Now, the thing is that we unconsciously allow people to have more power over us than we would like because we usually give them the opportunity to give us something that we are not able to get elsewhere. Now, what do I mean by this? One of the reasons why people find it easy to succumb to peer pressure when they are within a group of people is because the desire for recognition and respect from that group of people is higher than a desire to actually be an authentic version of themselves. Which then begs the question, how do we take away this power or to a great extent reduce it? And that, my dear friend, is by getting more suppliers. I'm sure you're probably like, wait, Bernard, is this an economic class? Not exactly. But we can actually learn a thing or two from economics. Now, when we have a monopoly, whereby only one entity is supplying a particular good or service, the people literally have no choice but to take crap. But when we have a free market, when different people are actually supplying the same product, the power returns back to the consumer, or rather to you. Now, how do we relate this to relationships? When your only source of recognition or respect is from one group of people, that's when we enter to some really tricky situations. Because when you allow one group of people as your only source of self-importance, you inadvertently give that person a lot more power than you would actually like. So how do we do this? How do we get more suppliers? I'm beginning to see a lot of ways that this can go south actually. I'm not saying you should cheat on your partner. Yeah, I'm not talking about like romantic relationships, but like when we go into friendships and other relationships, when you give one group of people a lot of power over you, it really messes a lot of things. Now, one of the ways that we can reduce the power of a group over us is by actually having a much more diverse social life. Because life happens, people will be people, and maybe a group of people might do something that you may not like, and if they sense that, oh, this guy, we have power over him, or this gal, we have power over her, I mean, they're more likely to get away with crap, and you're more likely to care about if they like you or not. When you have multiple really open groups or relationships, I mean, honestly, if one goes, you just go to the other supplier. Please don't get me wrong, this is excluding romantic relationships. Our wisdom nugget of the week: do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. And guys, if you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button. It helps the algorithm. And listen, do not judge. And if you love this video, I think you're going to love this video about how to create good habits that stick. And with that, guys, remember to always keep it real. Bye, guys.